Hey guys, I'm going to talk to you about something that might throw you off a little bit based upon my previous videos, but I woke up a few days ago and saw something that I thought was just amazing. If you don't follow third world politics, Liberia elected George Weah as their next president, with his vice president being Jewel Taylor, who oddly enough is the ex-wife of the former dictator Charles Taylor, who was convicted of The Hague of crimes against humanity. I want to talk about this because it's a really personal moment in my life. As a kid, I didn't really idolize celebrities. It just wasn't the way I was raised. And in America, it's pretty common for professional athletes and celebrities to have some kind of a personality cult surrounding them. But this just wasn't how my parents raised me. I mean, I like entertainment, and I always have, and I love sports. I just never really idolized these people. Except for George Weah. My dad and I used to love watching Milan and European soccer, and I came to love George Weah's game. He was an incredible striker, but I really loved him because of how humble he was. And he's still the only athlete I have a picture of. When I went to college, my dad got me a big 36 by 24 inch poster that he had canvassed for me so I could hang it in my room, and I still have that picture today. It's hanging right next to me in my office. He's honestly the only entertainment figure I ever really lionized. I actually loved George Weah as a kid, but that's really grown over the years to a deep admiration for a man who is one of the truly lone patriots in the entertainment industry. To put into perspective how George Weah is perceived in Liberia, imagine a humble sportsman like Derek Jeter. He's great at his sport, he's adored by his fans and respected by the fans of his rivals and his adversaries. He's incredibly successful, achieves the highest accolades a professional athlete in his respective sport can. Now, imagine that Derek Jeter was born into just abject poverty, in the most destitute slum of his country, barely finishing high school. In fact, I don't even think George Weah graduated from high school. When he's signed as a professional athlete, he moves to another continent. He continues this trend, getting the best years of his body to incredibly physical leagues, and when he retires, he goes back. For Jeter, that would have been New Jersey. For Weah, it was Monrovia, Liberia, in the wake of a devastating civil war. He comes back to a nation ravaged by ubiquitous poverty, webs upon webs of corporate and governmental corruption, and a genocidal carnage which was capped by a leader who was the first man convicted in international tribunals since the high command of the Third Reich at Nuremberg. Now imagine that Derek Jeter is the only noteworthy athlete in your nation. What could have been argued as the worst and most dangerous nation on earth, but still, he came back. And despite the fact that he lost his first presidential election, a few nights ago, he was elected as the leader of his nation. You can say what you want about global leaders, even African leaders who rose to power through well-connected networks and associates, or respect earned and power consolidated through their military service. Most of them are thirsty for wealth, respect, and power. And that's why I'm nervous, because so many African leaders begin with good intentions, then become tyrants. I mean, it's pretty much par for the course on the African continent. So I'm nervous that a man that I've admired for my whole life might follow into the same trap. But I'll ask you, does this look like the reaction of a would-be tyrant? Is this the face of a despot victorious in spectacular fashion? I think not. I think this is the face of an unostentatious man who's given his soul, his treasure, his blood, sweat, and tears for a grateful nation. When his national football team could not afford basic amenities for the African Cup, he not only coached the team, he financed their travels. When he had every reason to stay abroad with fame and wealth built from his own blood and sweat, from his own hard work in some of the most civilized and affluent societies on earth, he came back to help heal his nation, even if he couldn't initially do it as president. This is the face of hope in a war-torn, blood-soaked nation. When Barack Obama ascended the office of President of the United States, the hope of his election lied in the idea that racism in America was becoming a vestige of a dark period in American history. He did indeed give hope to millions of Americans that we'd move forward from the tragedies of slavery in the Jim Crow South, but truth be told, when the average black, white, or otherwise American looked at Obama, they weren't looking at someone with whom they had any type of commonality. Obama was a middle to upper middle class American who grew up in very unique and diverse circumstances. His father was Kenyan, his mother was A white middle-class American, he grew up between Hawaii and Indonesia. He was raised by his mother and later by his grandparents. He went to Occidental College, Columbia University, and Harvard Law. He rose through the ranks of the political elites in Chicago through community organizing and later became the leader of the free world. Now, I want to make something very clear. None of this is a judgment or a character flaw. Barack Obama chose his own path, but his life was by no means ordinary. Rather, it was extraordinary. Again, this is not the normal upbringing. As much as he gave Americans hope, there was virtually nothing he shared in common with the average American. But when these children and young people, in slums that would make American Skid Rows look like Rodeo Drive, when they look at George Weah, he can look back at them and say, I've been where you are. I've seen what you've seen. I've suffered as you've suffered. I was you. I am you. This is a man who can look at his people and make them feel as if they can make it because he made it. It's obvious that George Weah loves his country and that he's truly a patriot, and I wish him and his people the best of luck. God bless the Republic of Liberia and its people, and God save King George.